So we were talking about the timeline of sort of what to expect, and as I said, you know, and I definitely heard some reaction. I think a lot of you are very interested in the residential life form that you just filled out, the questionnaire about your lifestyle, what you might want to think about in terms of compatibility with a roommate. So just to answer some questions you might be curious about, we'd like to talk just a little bit about living at Barnard and what it would be like to move in. The person who's the real expert is the person whose name is up on the screen, Courtney Colvin. And you may have already heard from her by email. You may have seen her name listed in the guide with some advice that she has to offer about living with a roommate, perhaps for the first time. But she's the person in residential life who oversees everything having to do with first years. She is the person who pairs you with your roommate or roommates. She's the person who chooses and trains the RAs who will live on the hallway and help you through your first year. And she's the person who can answer any kind of questions you have about living in the first year area and any concerns you have either now or as the year goes along. So she's very available. She's going to be out of the office a little bit in later June, but now and throughout the rest of the summer, she is very available to answer questions, so I would encourage you to email her or to call her if you have questions that are more specific than we can answer today. I think because the deadline is just in a few days, most of you have already filled out the roommate questionnaire, so I won't talk about that too much, but I will talk about how you will then find out the results of that. In August, early in August, you will receive an email from Courtney Colvin, and it will give you the name of your roommate or roommates, depending on the type of room you're in. You may have 1, 2, or 3 roommates. It will give you the contact information for those roommates so that you can get in touch, start to get to know one another, start to make plans about who's bringing what to the room. And you will receive a newsletter. And sometimes it's easy to overlook the newsletter because it will be an attachment, but please make sure you look through the newsletter because it will not only be some information about how to plan for your arrival, what you might think about bringing to campus, but it will explain to you what the move-in procedure is. And you'll see that you're going to be asked to arrive at a certain window of time on move-in day. And so you'll see on the screen move-in day is Sunday, August 26th. And the move-in period is usually first thing in the morning, starting anywhere from 7, going all the way up to about 11 o'clock. And you're going to be given a window of time where you're going to be asked to come to campus, and that's going to be based on your room assignment. Basically by floor, they'll ask you to come during a certain hour. So I'd like to describe for you what the move-in experience is like because I find it to be a really well-oiled machine. I've been impressed with it every year I've been at Barnard to watch it in action. When you arrive at Barnard, many of you may be driving up in your family car, some of you may be taking a cab. You're going to drive up to campus, and part of Broadway is going to be blocked off so that you can pull right up in front of the campus along these few blocks. And then the great thing is you're going to get rushed by a whole swarm of brightly clad co-eds who are going to help you unload all of your earthly possessions out of your car and get them over into a chalked off square somewhere along Broadway. And then after you get checked in and you get your key and you get all kinds of information, these same friendly, brightly clad co-eds are going to come back and help you move all of your things into bins. They're going to whisk you upstairs and they're going to help you unload everything in your room. It happens in the blink of an eye. It's great. Cherish it, love it, enjoy it. It only happens once. So you really want to soak up the enjoyment of having other people move your things for you. They won't even be there at the end of first year to move you out. So. But it really, there are so many of them because orientation is something that's done among all the schools. So we have not only Barnard students who will be helping you, but Columbia College students, engineering students, general studies students, and so there will be lots of people to help. Now, getting unpacked and getting settled will take some time, but getting you into the room will take no time at all. So as students get settled, get to know their roommates perhaps for the first time, unpack a little bit, there will be programming going on for families, and you'll be able to meet lots of administrators from lots of different offices around campus who will have information that you'll probably be very interested in. Residential Life will be giving information sessions about their policies and procedures. Public Safety will offer some information. I'll be doing some presentations along with some colleagues. So there'll just be lots of information about life on campus and answering some questions you may have, just kind of giving you the lay of the land of how things work here. Students, you'll be hearing all that information again in your own special sessions later in orientation, so you can feel free to get settled during that time, but family members may want to go to those sessions to have some questions answered. And then just to give you a heads up, because it can really sneak up on you really fast, at about 3 or 3:30 that afternoon, after a welcome from the president and the dean of the college and the provost and a reception, at 3:30 is what will be listed in the orientation booklet as family farewell. And it comes up fast. I suggest you bring lots of Kleenex. It can be a little bit traumatic. But that really is the end of family time. We don't exactly throw up barbed wire and orientate you off campus, but I will let you know that orientation for new students begins then. They are whisked away to meet their orientation groups, their new orientation leaders, to have dinner with students, and from that point forward, orientation week is a blur of activity that is all designed for students. So you might be able to steal them away a little bit, you might be able to come and sort of beg out on campus for them to come meet you and pay attention, but chances are you might not hear from the students very much during that week because it is so busy. So I'll come back to orientation week because it's something I also want to help prepare you for, but while we're talking about moving in, a residence life, I'd like to ask Mevish to share with you her experience of finding out her roommates, getting moved in, and just advice she has about thinking about your first weeks on campus.
Yeah, so that's exactly how move-in day is. I know my parents were very appreciative of the fact that things were packed and put away, and then we came upstairs and, oh look, everything's all set and neat, and everyone has smiles on their faces like a Disney movie. But this year, I'll be working move-in day, so you'll see me unpacking your things. So, as a favor to me, please pack lightly. But first, we'll talk about housing, because I know that's. Even when I give tours, people get visibly apprehensive when I bring up residential life and roommates, because all first years have to live with a roommate or roommates. We only have doubles, triples, and quads for our first years, so it's really a key part of life at Barnard, particularly in your first year, because Barnard realizes that your roommate is going to be the first, hopefully the first friendship that you make on campus. They'll be the first face that you see. And so Barnard tries very hard to foster that relationship. And so you've been filling out those roommate questionnaires now, I think. And so it's crucial to be very truthful, because you don't want to make up things on the roommate request form, because you don't know who you'll end up with. But I actually, in my first year, I ended up with 3 roommates, so we lived in a quad. And I can tell you right now, first year would not have gone so smoothly had we not all been friends. And that really is a testament to the first year focus director and the housing manager for hand matching all of the students to their roommates. And not only do they try to match you with someone that you can cohabitate well with, meaning you won't tear each other apart when it comes time for midterms or finals, but also, again, someone that you can become friends with. So you might note some of the personal questions on the form. And that's really to facilitate that kind of friendship. And in fact, one of my roommates from that first year has been my roommate ever since. So we're going on 4 years now, so it's really good, and we're very close. And again, that just would not have been possible without that keen eye that they bring to matching you. So fear not, it'll be okay.
Any suggestions about things to bring up?
Yeah, things to bring. Again, another question that I get a lot on tours. A mini fridge, very important. And also a fan, if you notice. I mean, you can't tell, this weather is abnormal, it's atypical. And I think there are quite a few New Yorkers here, so you can attest to the fact that I'm wearing a turtleneck sweater that I had to fish out of my storage is a big deal for June. But so you do need a fan. Heating is provided, thank goodness, but you will need a fan for the first couple of weeks and the last couple of weeks at Barnard. So those 2 things are kind of a must. I would personally, because we were, again, communicating for that last month before we moved in, my roommates and I'd be held off on bringing any communal items, like, like in terms of aesthetics, like rugs or lamps for our communal area, until we actually got there. And I would recommend that, because you really don't know what the space is going to look like. I mean, they do offer floor plans online, but you really don't know what space you're going to get until you actually get on campus. So it's a good idea to wait and then go shopping with your roommates to furnish your room. And bring any tchotchkes or knickknacks or organizers, depending on how much space you have. So that would be my advice.
And if I could just echo a few of those points, I would suggest moving in that less is more, especially since most of you live nearby. It's a temptation for many students to bring their entire wardrobe just to make sure they have anything they might possibly need no matter what the weather turns. You will not be able to fit your entire wardrobe in your closet. We have so much to offer you here at Barnard. Space is not the biggest part of what we have to offer you. It's a little snug here on campus. And so, as Mevish said, I think you want to see what the space is. You have plenty of time to change out warm weather clothes to cold weather clothes and kind of figure out what you may need. We do have a few stores in Manhattan, so you can pick up things that you will need. A lot of times people do wait and then make a trip down to Bed Bath & Beyond or to some of the local hardware stores or something like that after they've seen the room. We do have a shuttle that goes back and forth to Bed Bath & Beyond during the first move-in day as well. So you'll have lots of opportunity to kind of expand after you get into the room. And the other thing I'd like to point out about what Mevish was saying about the pairing of the roommates. It is done, as she said, by Courtney Bazin-Colvin with a little bit of help, but looking very closely at those questionnaires. And some students, especially those of you who live nearby and may know many other people from your school or from your neighborhood who are coming to Barnard, or maybe some of you have already been getting to know Class of 16 students on Facebook, it can be really tempting to request a roommate because you know someone, and that seems like a comfortable way to begin the year. You might want to, especially if you're on the fence about whether to request a roommate or have Barnard pair you with someone, you may want to let Barnard give it a try. Because as Mevish was saying, we do have a really good track record, and most students find that at the very least, they live comfortably with the person that they're paired with, or the people that they're paired with, and sometimes it can turn into a really valuable friendship. Sometimes we find that more often than not, when there are conflicts, they come from the people who requested to live with one another, because people might not know quite what it's like to live with someone, even though they know it's great to have coffee with that person. So if you're teetering on the question of whether or not to request a roommate, just wanted to throw that out there that you might want to let Barnard give it a try. But if you do request to live with someone and they mutually request to live with you, that will be honored. So that's something that's easy to accommodate.